like to invite Shri Suresh Prabhuji for his opening remarks. Suresh Prabhuji does not need any introduction. He is very well known for as a man of action for the energy industry, and he has been at the forefront for number of key transformations which have happened in the energy industry, including the introduction of Amendment Electricity Act back in 2003, and also as part of his role as a Minister for Commerce and Industries. So without further delay, I would like to invite Shri Suresh Prabhuji for his opening remarks.
And I must thank and congratulate Rahul Walalkar and his team for organizing this event, not just today, but he has been doing it regularly for quite some time now. In fact, I remember having attended few of the earlier editions and participated in it, and I also benefited from it in terms of getting knowledge, ideas, and also the different viewpoints. That is a basic purpose of organizing an event of this kind. We, in the world, on the threshold of a completely new revolution as far as energy is concerned. For a long time, we have relied on fossil fuel energies. We also relied on something which we thought is going to last forever. Then it so happened that crude oil prices shot up beyond $100 per barrel. Went right up to 120 for some time, or even more. And it always happens at that level of prices, the demand couldn't be created, therefore the prices retreated. And no one could imagine what happened only a few months ago, when the prices went below $20, and for some time, maybe technicality, but in the US, they reached a negative level because of lack of storage, the point that you are discussing, of a different kind. So I'll come to that. But the prices retreated to an extent that the economics of oil and gas industry underwent a sea change. The companies, particularly in the US, what specialized in shale gas and shale oil, they could not sustain their businesses because the break even itself was above $50, maybe even $60 per barrel. And consequently, again, the cartelization which dominates the oil and gas market re-emerged. They got non-OPEC partners also joining in, like Russia and others. And prices have again gone up, now around $40 plus minus. It revolves around that. But when it went down, it posed some challenges, not just for the producers of oil and gas, but for the competing sectors like renewable energy. The renewable energy costs were always benchmarked against the traditional sources of energy. If you generate electricity using coal or gas, the price will be X. And if you can sell, and therefore the price is higher because of the oil prices were so high. And if you can sell renewable energy at a cheaper rate, it was obviously a better choice. Now it's a different matter if you do the life cycle of the cost of renewable energy, which is definitely far, far better than life cycle cost of the oil and gas industry. Because the effect on climate change, the greenhouse gas emission that oil and gas industry emits is so phenomenal that the cost going beyond the use of that energy into your generation of electricity is far more. So environmental cost may be even much higher than what the variable cost of using that energy into your power generation. But still, it was a benchmark. People were not willing to look at the life cycle cost, they were looking at immediate cost. So renewable energy was under trouble. Luckily, what has happened over a long period of time, that renewable energy itself has made a huge headway. In fact, as per the International Energy Agency, renewable energy will dominate the energy field in the next few years' time more than what has happened in the last decade. And in that context, renewable energy could be used as for the big response to climate change, good for energy security of the country because you are producing it in your own country. The variable cost is virtually not there because wind and solar, or for that matter, even if you are using water as a source of renewable energy for hydro, it's not variable cost. But a challenge remained in renewable energy was how do you store electricity? Because wind is blowing in the evening, solar, the sun is shining in the morning, barring few Nordic countries, for some time of the year, not all the time, the sun is always there. But otherwise, sun follows a set pattern. It is not on whims and fancies like the human beings are. So sun thinks I am going to come at this particular time and going at this particular time. The sunrise and sunset timings are known very well for everybody. It is not a secret covered by intellectual property rights. It's everybody can use it. So solar energy is available in the morning, wind is available in the evening. There could be other source of energy which you can add to it. But if you can have stored electricity, it can be a game changer. In fact, storage is a part of a human behavior. For tens of thousands of years that, or even million years that we have lived on the planet, the humans used to be foragers, hunters. How they get energy? They will have to eat something. So when they will get a prey, they can hunt, they'll eat it, but not sure when they will get the next one. So the body was used to a system where they can store that energy that they received. That's how the problem of lipid profile, lipid it happens in the body because it stores, because body doesn't know when you'll get the next meal. And therefore storage of energy is a part of human behavior and anatomy of human being. Now that energy is necessary for running your system, the body, but we need energy for external use, not for internal use. This is an internal use. Now that if you can store it, can completely change the energy profile of the world, not just of India. But India has a unique distinction. It will be already the second highest incremental use of energy in the world. Incremental, not the total. And soon will be number one because the per capita consumption of electricity in India is very low. Therefore, it is bound to rise. With income level going up, with the lifestyle changing, people will use more energy. Again, I am not saying electricity alone energy, which will be used even for mobility, which will be used for other purposes. Electricity can be used only for a limited purpose. And energy use, therefore, in India is bound to rise substantially over a period of time. And therefore, if you can use energy which is renewable, non damaging to the environment, which does not emit greenhouse gases, can imagine the changes that will happen in the world. And to do that, because of the kind of renewable source of energy are available, and India has 300 days of sunshine, we can generate a lot of solar electricity. Then we have two desert states, Gujarat and Rajasthan, where we can generate electricity, much higher levels, higher scale. But We use it in two states where, by definition, desert means no population. But use it as energy. When can you can transmit it. But even if you transmit it, you can transmit it only when it is generated. So storage will be a key element of the future energy profile of the world and India. Storage, as I said, is part of human nature anatomy, but not anatomy alone, of our mind. Where do you get wisdom from? Wisdom is part of experience and enlightenment, and you store it in the brain. What is civilization? Which is culture, language. What is it? It is storage of that culture knowledge. So storage has helped human civilization to be what it is today. The institutional memory, we call it. What is it, institutional memory? Is it not storage? So storage has helped humanity to progress, or I don't know what progress means, or regress, whatever it is, but we have come to this level thanks to storage. In future, we must use the good part of storage and leave bad part of storage. What is that bad part of storage? What we call it as a baggage, the past experiences which may not be good. So in the energy, we must working on a roadmap for storage, particularly in Indian context, in a way that we should not just get tied up to one technology, get wedded to only one way of generating storage, creating storage. The chemistry, battery, everything is changing so fast. And as you have seen, the storage itself is an idea which was there already, but now we're coming to fore in a big way into energy. That idea itself is evolving. Technology itself is changing. So we must do energy storage for sure using multiple ideas. That's how the innovation happens. If you just say, I'm going to do this and nothing more, it's damaging to the possibility of a change. It is faulting the change. It should not be the idea for storage. We can really go into multiple options. India must invest into research and development in a big way, which I have also made my point in my earlier meetings. And R&D should be like a platform in which anybody can use part of that platform and do further development on that in their own software. Industry can use this common platform of publicly available R&D for developing their own modules of what storage could be. Storage will be necessary when we are going to think about electric vehicles. But we should do it in a way that will allow the human mind to blossom and to think about brighter ideas, better ideas. Idea may be bright, but there could be brighter ideas. And those brighter ideas can be born only when you have more possibilities made available to the developer. This is what we should try to do. Now, today's program, we are also focusing on Atmanirbhar Bharat. It is a self-reliant India. How do you do that? Is by creating the locally available resources to be developed to the optimum level. The energy is necessary for all industrial, social, service-oriented agriculture activities. If you want to harness those resources, you need resources for conversion from raw material to finished product. That is energy. So energy will be a critical part of Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-reliance. But that conversion of energy, including storage, would happen only when we allow the locally developed R&D to come up, flourish. We must develop our own systems, hardware, new ideas should happen, but we should not shy away from linking ourselves with what is happening in the best in the world. There's no need to reinvent the wheels, but to reinvent ideas. We must work in a manner that will foster new innovation to take place into the development of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been a great champion of renewable energy and obviously therefore storage of energy. We should try to use both these platforms. One, renewable energy to grow, which already have 100,000 megawatts of solar and 75,000 megawatt of wind as a target, but can be more because as personally I've seen myself that more than 500,000 megawatts of electricity can be generated from offshore wind because India has 7,600 kilometers of coastline. We can also use oceanic energy, but all of this can happen as sources of energy. And there we should try to bring as much as R&D possible. But whatever source of energy is there, if you can store it, then it changes the dynamics of energy completely. Therefore, we should focus on that. I really wish that we'll definitely not fall into the trap of just saying that I want to use only this energy, this technology. Technology is a key to success. Technology could be a trap. And therefore, we should try to open-ended new ideas, new developments will happen. And I'm sure that will pave way for not just India becoming self-reliant in energy, but actually stopping the rest of the world suffering from the ill effects of climate change. Because we'll not be emitting those greenhouse gases. So obviously, the per capita load in India itself will go down, but per capita load of the world also will go down because we are 17% of the global population. I think we should work on that. Energy storage is a key, the future. And I'm very happy. Therefore, once again, we'd like to congratulate Rahul Walalkar and his team that single-mindedly they have been working on this steadfastly for a long time and bringing different people together, different viewpoints together, and work in a very focused manner to work on this very singular objective of making India and rest of the world in the process energy is self-reliant, but in a way will not cause damage to environment. So I wish all the best. I look forward to more editions of this program taking place in future. Thank you for inviting me. This is my passion. I live, of course, if I don't have energy, I cannot live. But I live for energy, not live with energy alone. Therefore, I'm really wanting this. And again, I'm my other big passion, even bigger than energy, is climate change. Therefore, I strongly feel that we should not leave the world in a manner that the future generations will say, what kind of people were living on this planet? They were barbarians. How they destroy this biodiversity? How they destroy this whole beautiful paradise? So I think we should therefore make energy as a new gateway to bring better world for the future. Thank you very much.